So welcome back. So alright guys, so in this video we are starting one of the most powerful and frequently asked pattern in the coding interviews, especially that interval patterns. Okay, so now if you have ever worked with the things like meeting schedules or booking system or time slot, you have already seen the intervals in real life. So an interval is simply a range between the two times, right? One is start and one is end, correct? For example, if my meeting is about to start, suppose 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., so I'll write like that in the range format, right? So when we have multiple such intervals, the real challenge is how do they interact with each other. I mean, if someone wants to book like suppose 2 to 3 p.m., is it allowed? It should not be allowed, because during this start time I'll be busy in this meeting. So do they overlap? Can we merge them? Or do we need any extra space or resources, right? So this is exactly what this pattern help us to solve. And trust me, once you understand this pattern deeply, you will be able to solve the whole category of the problems very easily, okay? So let's first clearly understand what is the interval actually is. So an interval is a simply representation of the two values. One is start, I already told, and second is end, correct? It's simply representation. So something like example, if I take 1 comma 3 or 2 comma 6, so these are all intervals, okay? And all these are called range, okay? So now the important thing to notice here is that these ranges can either overlap or can be completely separate, okay? And almost every interval problem revolves around the understanding this relationship between the intervals, whether they are overlapping or they are clearly separate, okay? So the huge cases of this pattern you might have seen, like meeting scheduler, I already told, hotel booking system or flight reservation system, or anything where we're booking or reserving some particular time slot. So okay, so all these kind of cases we are dealing with the time ranges, and the system needs to answer this question like, do two booking conflicts, or can I merge the time slot, how many rooms do I need to at the peak time. So all these are questions which is somehow somewhere internally going to solve by this pattern only, okay? So let's understand the core idea behind this. So let's understand the idea behind this. So there are mainly three things that we are going to do again and again in any interval problem. First thing, we have to detect the overlap, okay? Detect overlap. Second, we have to merge the intervals. And third is sorting of the interval. Sort intervals, correct? And out of all these three, the most important part is this one, because once the intervals are sorted by start time, the problem becomes much simpler. So instead of comparing each interval with every other interval, you only need to compare with the previous one. So this is the best part of this, okay? So this is the idea. When you are going to implement this, somewhere will be revolving around this concept only, okay? So remember that, again I'm reiterating this, always sort the intervals based on the start time, okay? Sort the intervals based on the start time. I told you why, because once you sort it, you don't need to check all the intervals, you have to check only with the previous interval, okay? So you're not going to compare the current interval with all the intervals, only last processed interval you are going to compare with. And this reduces the complexity drastically from order of n square to, I think it will be order of n log n, right? Anyways, we'll see this implementation. So this is one and important step that simplifies almost every interval problems, okay? So let's see how a new approach should be. What is the brute force approach people used to follow if interval patterns were not there, okay? So now let's think like a naive approach. So what would we do? We are having multiple intervals, right? So I am going to take one interval and going to compare with each and every interval to check overlap. This means it's going to be each interval going to be compared with the rest of the element. So it is going to be order of n square first thing, right? And how do we compare? We are going to check the first element. Okay, this start time is greater than or equal to this start time. If the second start time is greater than this, then they are separate. Otherwise, they are going to overlap. So this approach works, but not efficient, especially for the larger inputs. So now question is, how can we optimize it, right? So the optimized approach comes with the merge intervals. So okay, so first what I have to do, as I told you, first step should always be sort the interval based on the start time. First thing, sort the interval by start time, right? And I told you also reason, because in this case then we are going to compare only the previous interval, right? And keep the result list and add to the first interval. So whatever result is coming, keep somewhere, okay, and add the first interval, and for every next interval you are going to compare with the last interval in the result. So there may be two cases. One is the overlap case, second will be no overlap case, right? So in case of overlap, if suppose 2 slot is there, 2 to 4 and 3 to 5, right? So in case of overlap, what we are going to see, we are going to see if your current dot start, okay, if a current dot start means this, if I am going to process, suppose this one, this already processed first element, okay, so current dot start is less than or equal to last end, okay, this one. So this is fine, this is smaller in this case, then I'm going to merge them. So my interval will become 2, 5 now after merging. Understood? So how I am reducing this, you can see this. I'm just comparing with the previous one, because this is sorted based on the start time. In case of no overlap, simply add the interval in the result, because there is no case. So it will be like in the result, this is my result data. It is having now one interval, but in this case it will be having 2, 4 also. And suppose one interval is coming like, let me take a separate example because it should not be overlapped, right? And this is 5, 6. So this is going to be at 2, 4, 5, 6. So there will be two answers in that. Okay, that's it. Simple logic, but extremely powerful, right? Let's do one dry run for this so that you can understand this whole flow. So let me take one input. So I'm having suppose input 1, 3, 2, 6, overlapping is there, right? 8, 10 and 15, 18. Okay. What is my step 1? I told you. I'm going to sort the interval, right? And first add the interval because it's the first element. So my first interval is coming 1, 3. Correct? Then step 2. I'm going to compare the next one with the 1, 3. So this is my start, this is end, this is start, this is end, this is start, this is end. Okay. So I'm going to compare with 2, 6 now. Here 2, 6 is there. Okay. So 2 is less than or equal to 3, right? It means it is in between. So it is going to overlap. So what I'm going to do in the overlap now? This, remember, this record is already sorted. If this is not sorted, you have to sort it. I have taken the sorted input. Okay, so that's why this step is already done. So 2 is less than 3, overlap. So I'm going to merge this. So I will merge it. It will become 1, 6. Hope till now we are okay, right? Now step 3. Now I'm going to compare next element with the 1 comma 6, this one, this is a processed one. So now next one is 8 comma 10. Let's compare. 8 is greater than 6, no overlap, it's already bigger than, right? So I'm going to simply add this, no overlap. So I'll simply going to add it. So now this will become 1 comma 6 and 8 comma 10, correct? Now coming to step 4. In step 4, what I'm going to do, I'm going to compare with the 15, 18, right? So let's see that. So last processor is this one. So your 15 is greater than 10. Again, no overlap, is bigger than, right? So I am going to add it again. So my answer will become now 1 comma 6, 8 comma 10 and 15 comma 18, correct? So this is the final result. If you notice here one thing, we only compared with the last interval, not all the interval, right? So this is the benefit of using this merge not merge, it's an interval algorithm, or algorithm is a pattern, right? Interval pattern. Okay. So hope you understand the basic of this. So biggest mistake normally student used to make it, they try to compare with all the intervals, but in reality you only care about the last merge interval. We have seen this, right? That's the key idea. And think of it like stacking blocks. So you only care about the top block, not the entire stack, right? And whenever in any question, if you are going to see some words like range or time slot, start or end value, okay, so immediately think this might be an interval problem. Okay, so just one intuition you should have. So try to solve with the interval pattern. So first try to sort those, and then how you will recognize the pattern quickly in the in interview, or when you're going to solve on the lead code or anywhere, right? Okay, so hope you got the idea. So let's see in the next lecture we're going to implement this.